Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here from the Back to 12 podcast. That man to my left, or depending on where you're watching, maybe the right, is Lyle Leong. You know him, just casually toured up at Texas Tech and keeping it real like nobody else does on the Texas Tech podcast circuit. Lyle, how you doing, my guy?
Oh man, blessed to be in your presence.
I don't know if you are, though, because with this thing on my upper lip, man, you are not blessed to be in my presence.
Yeah, it's a good look, man. And at first I was worried about, ESPN, CBS, those type places take you. And now I'm kind of worried about Netflix. Come take you for Narcos because, you're looking like a main
Yes.
character.
Ooh.
And the knowledge that you have, I mean, to steal. So, you're creating more avenues that I've got to kind of put roadblocks in, but it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, sign me up for Narcos. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think
Yeah,
about it, but that's kind of maybe, subconsciously what I'm trying to do here.
yeah, it's a
It's
good look.
obviously all about charity when it comes down to it, but at the same time, like maybe subconsciously I'm thinking, yeah, I can help the kids and get a star in Netflix role. Like,
Think about it. We had a
maybe
Texas Tech guy at the Bachelor. Now we're moving on to Narcos.
people are talking, at least two people, and
Yeah,
it's at least the two people on this podcast. So there's that.
right.
On today's podcast, we're gonna recap Kansas, that
Mm.
game a little bit. Um, we might have to need to have a conversation about something, Lyle. We'll also, preview Iowa State a little bit, where this is a huge game for Texas Tech in terms of what it could mean for bowl implications. And then we'll also, well, let's just lead off the podcast with this. Texas Tech, at the time of this recording, just got a pretty substantial recruit in the 2023 class. Anthony White from Abernathy, a 3-star athlete. Some sites had him as high as a 4-star. But Lyle, this is a big deal because this was something that Joey McGuire has stressed since he got on campus is we need to keep the good West Texas kids in West Texas. And that's exactly what he did with Anthony White. You know him a little bit, but just kind of talk about like you're a West Texas guy, right? Like you stayed home. But like, why is that such a big deal for Texas Tech to keep these guys in these hometown or I guess really home area products in West Texas?
Man, I think it's super important for a lot of reasons. Number two, he's got two little brothers that are pretty good too.
There you go.
So that's a big move as far as keeping it in the family. And number two is you grow up watching it here most of the time in West Texas. Growing up here, the games that I saw was Texas Tech. And more so when I was younger, though, they really had a lot of Texas games. So now, as I've gotten older, they play more Texas games in West Texas. So kids see that and want to be a part of it. So as a kid, like I said, when my quarterback committed to Texas Tech, I'm like, dang, I want to go to Texas Tech. So it adds on to what we're trying to do. And even as a former guy, Wells, the group before, love all those guys, but they didn't come visit me. And we're 15 minutes away. And I felt some type of way as being an alum, a former player, having another former player on my staff that you didn't come by and just chat with me. And so I think that kids feel some type of way when they don't see a school that's 30 minutes away stop by. When your best player isn't visited, when your best player doesn't get an offer, it makes other kids down the road be like, why would I even want to go there? So I think they've done a great job. Like I said, Coach Kitt's been out here 7 times. Coach DeRuiter's been out here about 5 times. Coach McGuire came to a game this year. So, I mean, that's the type of stuff that makes, if I have a kid, I'm pushing Texas Tech. Of course, I want my kid to go where he wants to go. But I'm like, hey, they've been here. They've shown up. Whereas that last staff, it's kind of hard for me to say, they ain't came visit you. So why would you go there? So I
Mm-hmm.
think just seeing these other kids and these kids know each other. We went to like I was telling you, I went to FCA and talked to White and talked to a couple other kids that are up and coming. And the fact that he was talking about Tech made those younger kids that's up and coming say, hey, we can all team up. We can all get together. We can make a change. And so I think you have all the tools to get those people here. They just haven't been taking advantage of it. And even allowing your parents to come. His parents are 40 minutes away. So they can come to
Yep.
every single home game. And it's a good feeling when you look up in the stands and see your parents. I'm from Abilene, but my parents made it every game. And so it's just a good feeling when you know your family can come to the game. And I don't think people understand how big this is going to be, but it's going to blow up because these kids are going to start, they know each other, they grew up with each other. It's going to start a whole epidemic where everybody here is going to do that. And like I said, I think we've had to do better. We've had kids at LCU go to OU last year, all kind of schools. And it's crazy to me that they're in Lubbock and don't want to go to Lubbock. So I think they've done a great job because we have kids. And like I said, I'm not going to lie and say we have tons, but we got kids that are
Well, there's
just like
D1
four-star.
players. There's
Yeah,
D1 players in West Texas. Absolutely.
right. And we just got to take advantage. So I think them just stopping by has been big for them just to see them. Because like I said, I don't know how many times I think Texas came by there once. Because like I said, I know them dudes that came by my school too. And they're great dudes. Sorry, Texas Tech people, but they're great dudes too. But I've saw Kit came by here 7 times. So if I see a coach 7 times and a coach 1 time, I'm kind of thinking that coach wants me a little more.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, his offer list was pretty solid. I mean, Mississippi State was on there. Obviously, you know the head man very well. For the Bulldogs, Vanderbilt was up there. He takes education very seriously. I've seen multiple interviews that him and his family take that very seriously. So Vanderbilt was very high on his list, not only for football, but because let's face it, it's the Ivy League of the South. That's what it is. Vanderbilt is a very good school. UT was on there. Pittsburgh was on there. UTSA. He had a solid offer list, but the trickle-down effect is really what catches my eye. And you talked about it a little bit. This isn't just a one-guy thing, right? You look at kind of what Joey McGuire has implemented when it comes to keeping these guys in West Texas. And I truly believe this started with one guy, and I'm not saying he should get all the credit for it, but when you see a guy like Isaiah Crawford, a 4-star DN from Post Texas, commit within 2 weeks of Joey McGuire getting the job, that tells you all you need to know about what point of emphasis this staff is putting on keeping not kids just in Lubbock City limits, but in West Texas. And
Right.
if you listen to some podcasts out there, I'll give them a shout out, the Gambling Gauchos. It's all West Texas, right? But in all honesty, let's face it, like West Texas is probably just a little bit west of Fort Worth, and then it goes all the way to El Paso, right? Like if Texas Tech is really the only school out there, right? So like when you look at this, and no disrespect to UTEP or West Texas A&M, but it's a different level of football, right? So when you see a guy like Isaiah Crawford, who could legitimately go play anywhere, I'm going to pull up his offer list because I'm curious to see exactly who offered him, because we're talking about a top 150 player in the country, right? So I pull it up. He has Baylor on there, so you win there. Arizona State, Colorado, Illinois, Mississippi State, Utah, SMU, Oklahoma State. Like we're talking about top 25 programs, and you get a guy like that to stay in West Texas. It speaks volumes about what this crew is doing in terms of keeping guys in-house. And just wanted to give him a shout out because I know Texas Tech has been going after Anthony White hard. And hey, you got the job done. And Texas Tech also got the job done on the gridiron against Kansas, Lyle, 43-28. I'll be honest, I was shitting on Kittley last week. I was, man. I was. This was by far the best schemed game he has had as a Red Raider OC. But I will say this too. I was also shitting on Tyler Shough. And I got to give that kid a lot of credit. That looked like a completely different quarterback in a lot of ways, mostly because of the zip on the football. He was throwing ducks. I thought he deserved criticism, but when you deserve criticism, you also deserve praise when things go your way, right? So you got to dish it out both ways. And I'll be the first to admit, I was hard on Tyler Shough. I was hard on Zach Kittley, but damn it, they shut me up real quick, and they deserve a lot of praise for the game plan that went on Saturday against Kansas. Again, 43-28. Tyler Shough, Lyle, I think we need to have a conversation. I truthfully do. If he gets Texas Tech to a bowl game, right? Because I don't think Barron Morton plays the rest of the way. If he wins a game for Texas Tech, whether that's against Iowa State on the road or against Oklahoma, we need to have a serious conversation on who should be the leading QB1 candidate for Texas Tech going into next season. And I know that there's some people that are going to say, oh, it's clearly Barron Morton. But I think there's also a lot of people that think Tyler Shough still has that pedigree and everything. And I kind of agree with them to the extent of Tyler Shough is a very good football player. He's just been very unlucky when it comes to injuries. What's your opinion on the situation? Like, again, this is a hypothetical, right? Like, We don't know if Tyler Shough is going to win another football game. But if he does as the starting quarterback, should there be a conversation on who is QB1 going into next season?
I got a couple of things. First, I think, is it that Kittley had a good scheme, or is it that the team finally showed up and played? Because I
think both can be true.
I think like he doesn't change up too much. Like wrinkles are within your scheme. Like if you're an air raid guy, you're an air raid guy, and the wrinkles, yes, they do make a difference. But like I said, it makes a difference when you have a quarterback that's on, when you got receivers that catch. It allows them to do different things to move them back. So I think it's like like I said, and I'm just speaking from a coaching point. There's times, like I said, maybe one day when you get out here and I show my high school, there's perfect play calls where somebody does not do what they're supposed to over and over and over. And it may be something minute where a receiver is supposed to run 12 yards and he ran his route at 8 yards, or he didn't get open, or the offensive line. It's always something. So I think as a whole, Texas Tech finally played good. They finally believed that they were the better team, and they played like it. And so that's my opinion on that. I think Kansas didn't come in ready to play. I think they were down a little bit, in my honest opinion, for whatever, maybe because they lost 2 weeks ago, or their season hasn't been going how they thought it was going to go and how it started. But I think Texas Tech's team was more excited to play. I think they showed up. And then when it comes to quarterback for me, I said the same thing, and I'll keep saying the same thing. All three of these quarterbacks are equal. That's just my opinion. I feel like if Donovan was in, we would have won. He had one drive, we went down. Like, I just feel like if the team plays good, then the quarterback plays good, and the quarterback is the leader and has to play that. But this is one of the rare times where I felt like the team has to play good in order for the quarterback to follow suit, and versus the other way. Like when we were playing there, Graham had to play good for us to win. Like, we had to. And I think that the quarterback position, there's not someone that's like over the top right now. So the team has to play good. The running backs have to run the ball good, which they did on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Like, the receivers have to catch the ball when that presents the opportunity, because they're not getting the separation that they need. But when they do, they have to catch those balls. And I think that was the difference, is people made plays when they had the opportunity. And like I said, I still think the receiving core is the worst core out of our offense. I do. And them and O-line are pushing it. But me being a receiver guy, I'm always gonna, and my love for those big guys up front, I'm always gonna put on those receivers. And I
they
just
played
think,
really well against Kansas, though. Got to give credit to the offensive line. They played really well, especially in the run blocking aspect of things.
Right. But I think the receivers catching is what makes it easy for them. And like I said, I know, because we struggle with throwing at my high school team. Teams put everybody up, 7 people in the box, manned up our receivers, and it's tough. It's tough. And we have a great O-line coach that, I mean, you can see the difference in our high school, but those guys have to get open. And, I was talking to my old high school coach. We did 2 plays. He was like, man, you should try these 2 plays. And I'm like, brother, it's a little different when I got Potts back there and I'm running routes.
Yeah.
It's a little different. So I think that's the part for me is the hardest, is to understand like the significance of it. And even like, I know I'm going on a rampage, but Crab, and I love him. That's my brother. I'll never tell him he's better than me. But I saw out there in the game where there's 4 eyes on him, that allowed everybody else to play one-on-one or them to zone and give you that opportunity. So I think that when he left and when other people were the number 1 guys, they didn't pan out to be what everybody thought they were going to be when Crab was there. So I think, like I said, we don't have that person on offense where people are like, I'm going to watch him. I'm going to do that. Are our running backs really good? Yes, but I don't think we have a guy right now where everyone's like, ooh, we got to watch him. In every podcast we do, the running back that we played last week, we got to watch him. We got to watch this guy.
Yeah.
We haven't had one time where Tech said, hey, man, that guy is somebody I have to keep an eye on. And I think when you're in that boat and you're, in my opinion, average in the Big 12, what would you say? We're midway, a little below midway when it comes to athletes with teams,
Yeah, probably like 6th or 7th.
Right. And
probably
so
7th, if we're being honest.
Right. And that's exactly close to where we're sitting. So I think that we got to understand, you've got to find a way at this high of a level, Kittley being the high profile he is, he's got to find a way, but he's got to do what he got there to be, because if he got out there and got an I formation, I could only imagine what the Texas Tech fan base would be. We didn't sign up for this, whoop-de-whoop. So I think those guys, once they step up and everybody helps those guys, I think any quarterback we have can lead us not to a national championship. But the games that we won this year, I feel like any of our quarterbacks could have led us to that game. I think Shutt could have beat Houston. I think Morton could have beat Houston. I really do. So that's just how I kind of feel on that. I just feel like once we get some of these guys in that cause problems, and cool, but I don't think there's one person on our team right now offensively that someone's like, oh, we got to worry about him
No, I
versus
think it's a
Tyree.
unit. I think it's a
Yeah,
unit. It's the running backs. Like I don't think there's one running back, kind of to your point, where it's like, if I'm a defensive coordinator, hey, I have to stop strictly Sir Roderick Thompson,
right,
but I have
right.
to stop Sir Roderick Thompson, Taj Brooks, and Cameron Valdez. Like, I got to stop those three guys.
Kansas State, who you got to stop?
You got to stop Deuce Vaughn.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Like, see how quick that was?
kind of
There's
your
no
point
one
this
on
week.
tech that you do
There's
that.
there's one guy you got to stop this week, and it's Xavier Hutchinson. You got to stop
Exactly.
him. And
We don't have that.
and to be honest, good luck. The dude's a stud. Good
Right.
luck. Just, I'm looking at his stats right now. You want to hear something crazy? I want to make sure I'm right on this, because I don't know if I am, but I want to make sure. He has 97 catches. Okay. I want to say you can look at Texas Tech stats. I'm pulling it up right now just to make sure I'm right. Yeah. Okay. I am right. All right. So if you take Miles Price, Xavier White, and Jerron Bradley, those are the three leading receivers for Texas Tech this season.
Probably
Okay.
comes out to 60.
No. Got to give him a little bit of credit there, Lyle. Got to give him a little bit, right?
You're right.
It comes out to 109.
Oh, wow. That's better than I thought.
Xavier Hutchinson by himself has 97.
Yeah.
So think about that. We're talking about, 12 receptions. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but I think this is a good lead in to Iowa State, because you're right. Texas Tech doesn't have that guy that you have to be aware of at all times. Iowa State does. And now it is kind of interesting looking at this game plan, because it really is a tale of strength, or at least perceived strength, against definitive strength for one side. And the strength for Texas Tech, at least supposed strength, is the offense, right? There's no doubt about it what the strength is for Iowa State. It's their defense. Their defense is the best in the Big 12. It's not close. They are just, I'm reading this off real quick. They're first in scoring defense, total defense, rushing defense, passing defense, and then, oh, by the way, they're fourth in passing efficiency defense.
Yeah.
They're the best defense in the Big 12. It's not close. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, because there's snow right now on the ground in Ames. It's not supposed to be snowing when the game is played. It's supposed to be like 36, 37 degrees. I'm very curious to see how Kittley kind of adjusts things, because I think Texas Tech is going to run the football. They're going to have to, right? But the real question to me is, what kind of stunts and everything is Texas Tech preparing for from Iowa State? Because let's face it, they also have a guy on defense you have to account for as well, in Will McDonald, who right now is tied with some guy named Von Miller. Whoever heard of that guy before?
Right.
In terms of the Big 12 list, in terms of sacks, he's one behind former Red Raider Aaron Hunt, who leads the Big 12 ever with 34 career sacks. So you got to know that guy, and you got to know Xavier Hutchinson. When you look at this game plan for Texas Tech, Lyle, either offensively or defensively, what do they have to do to win the game against Iowa State, a place where in Ames they've kind of struggled to win football games historically. They just haven't been really all that good in Ames.
Yeah. I could tell you why. If you've never been there, go visit. You'll understand. It's a different type of cold. It really is. And like I said, if Campbell called me right now to go be a receivers coach, the answer would be no. It's that miserable. But I think Texas Tech's got to do what they do. I can tell you right now, Kit's not changing it up because it's snowing. He's gonna do what he does, and these guys are gonna have to be tough, and fight through. I can tell you, when I was with Michael Leach, snow days, if we knew we were playing in snow, he'd do stuff like make us not wear sleeves. And then when we got out there, roll us before practice starts. So we know how it feels to run in the cold and get tackled in the cold. So I don't think anything changes. I think the biggest thing is execution. I think, our defense, the way they've been playing, I think that Iowa State's going to struggle to move the ball. I think they're going to run the ball more because I think that they're better at running the ball. I've only watched 2 games, so I'm not an expert by any means,
They're
but I
just
think
they're just so inconsistent with it. Like that's the
yeah,
thing with their offense. Like if Xavier Hutchinson, it's almost kind of like I'm trying to remember who that was. Alan Lazard when he was
yeah,
up there at Iowa State. Like if Alan Lazard wasn't going off, that Iowa State offense was struggling. The difference is they had David Montgomery in the backfield
that's what
when he
I'm.
was there. They don't have that kind of guy anymore. And that's no
Yeah,
disrespect to Brock. He's a solid running back, but I mean, there's just an astronomical drop off from Xavier Hutchinson to whoever the hell you want to put second on their roster.
and that's what I was saying earlier. Like people, that's the part people don't realize. Like they don't realize, Crab. We talk about Crab. What they don't realize is when you're doubling Crab, you got Danny Amendola, you got Detron Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
you got some cats that are NFL dudes that played. So, like I said, it makes a difference for that. But I give credit for that man being able to make plays. Like I said, I've seen 3 people on Crab and Crab get open and catch the ball. And it doesn't matter if they put 6 people. And I think that's a mentality thing and an athletic thing, God given thing too. I definitely do think that, but I think we just got to execute. It's going to be cold. It's going to be a different type of cold. We got to take advantage of those opportunities that we get. And I think that's it. They're a well-disciplined defense. They're number one in a lot of categories for a reason. So what they give us, we have to take and we have to execute. Like we
Yeah.
don't have time for drop balls, missing holes, missing blocks. We don't have time for any of that. But I think the thing that will keep us in is the way our defense has been playing. I think DeRuyter is good enough to find a way kind of to put a halt on my man, and then
You
also
running bracket? Would you run bracket against him? Just because of Deckers and how bad he's been at turning the ball over? Like, he's got 13 interceptions. Would you run bracket coverage or would you
I
run
don't
like,
know.
would you run man with the cover safety over the top helping?
I'd actually let the game play first and see. And my first adjustment would be, because our guy may go out there, have the game in his life and shut him
Sure.
down, and you don't need to do the extra. But if I'm going out there, play one, they throw the ball, he 20 yard, yeah, we're moving on to something that I'm doing, either bracketing or even just having an eye on them in zones. Because I know we play, like I said, we play teams play cover 3, and there's 3 people's eyes on Crab.
Yeah.
So I know, hey, he's here, he's here, he's here. So I think it's just being aware of him. But I also think our D line is better than most that they've played. So he's not going to have the amount of time, I believe, that he usually has. So I think that's why you let it go. Because I mean, we may get out there and get some sacks and rattle the quarterback, and no need to do anything extra before the game even starts. But I definitely would have a plan if he roasts us first play or second play and before he gets loose. But I'll be physical, get my hands on him from play
That's
one.
that's what I was about to bring up. You can't play off against this guy. And that's why
Yeah.
I think they do run bracket, was because that allows you to kind of have a guy like Malik Dunlap or Rashad Williams, that's the bigger corners that Texas Tech has on the outside, at least at that point, right? Like say they just it's bound to happen. You've seen it. Even the best corners, just even in press coverage, sometimes they whiff and the wide receiver wins. It's just how
Mhm.
it is. And we're talking about arguably the best wide receiver in the Big 12 outside of maybe QJ down at TCU, right? So
Mhm.
I would, and again, you know much better than me, but my thought process was, all right, I'm coming out and I'm bracketing him, but I'm allowing my lengthy corners and Malik Dunlap or Rashad Williams, whichever side of the field he's on, to press him and get his hands on him like early.
Right.
Just try and get him off route, get him towards the sideline, because the sideline is just an extra defender for you, right?
Right.
So if you use the sidelines as an extra defender and you got bracket coverage, it's almost like you're playing 3-on-1, and Hutchinson can beat you 3-on-1. Let's not get it twisted, but
Right.
at least you have that extra defender, quote unquote. When you also could have a guy like, whether that's Reggie Pearson playing the center fielder role just in case,
Mhm.
But I think Iowa State could obviously take advantage of that. But I do think at the same time, you brought up the defensive line. That's the thing I'm most worried about, and why I would start bracketing, because you're not going to have Tyree Wilson. And losing Tyree Wilson is arguably the biggest loss for any team in the Big 12 this season. Like, that's not an exaggeration. Like, he could be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Like, this isn't a guy that's like, oh, okay, cool, he's got 7 sacks, but it's because of the other guy. No, he has 7 sacks despite being doubled and tripled and even quadruple teamed sometimes. So, like, that's what I'm interested to see, is how Iowa State adjusts to that, knowing that you don't have the best pass rusher in the conference coming at you. And again, that's why I think I would start off. And again, I don't want to act like I'm the expert on this. This is definitely your field when it comes down to it. But that's why I think I would have a guy like Rashad Malik on the outside, press coveraging, pushing him to the outside if possible, having Reggie come up, playing maybe in that cover 1 zone bubble bracket on that back side where maybe he's about 12 yards off, right? That way, just in case, if he just gets abused, the corner at the line, Deckers has got to make a bullet pass into this tight window. And if he makes it, good for you. And if not, Reggie Pearson or whoever you have out there could come up and maybe have a pick 6 or whatnot.
Yeah, and I know we're running low on time, so I'll make it quick. But I think, too, just like on that, that's how much of a game it is with chess. If you're bracketing a guy and you put 1 receiver and 3 receivers on the other side, and you're bracketing that.
Numbers. Yep. It's a numbers game, for sure.
A number. So I think that's the part, too, where people fail to realize it's a number game, and you got 5 seconds to figure out the number game defensively and offensively. A lot of times you're guessing, but that's, to me, if I'm offensive coordinator and you bracket me and you don't have Tyrese, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the single him up over here and put 2 people over there and put 3 people over there. So most of the time they put 4 over 3, and then left in the box, we got the running number. So I think it just goes down to chess. And like I said, it comes down to executing. There's be 5-on-5. Can our 5 stop their 5? And that's how the game goes. So I better figure out something.
Wholeheartedly do the same thing. If I was Iowa State, if I saw them bracketing Hutchinson, I'm like, okay, cool. I got Brock in the backfield. I'll go out a shotgun with Deckers. I've got 3 extra blockers over here, and I'm just going to run you to death to the opposite side and let my wide receivers just block all day until you can prove that you can stop me. Because again,
if you
don't have to worry about Tyree,
run it to the single side, because
you could. Yeah, absolutely. Because you got a 12-yard push gap, because everything is going to be on the other side because of the just the strictly number side. That's the interesting part to me is, again, how does Texas Tech? You're never going to be able to replace Tyree Wilson. You're just not. It's not going to happen. But how do you get like a guy like J.A. in there who's played absolutely phenomenal for him, or J.P. and Josiah Pierre? Like, how do these guys step up to not Tyree Wilson level, but maybe just elevate their game just a notch more, that, again, you're not going to be able to replace them, but at least get as close as you can to it? Because I think this is my bold prediction for this game, if you can make Hunter Deckers throw more than 32 times, you win this football game, because I promise you this guy is going to throw at least 2 picks, at least 2. The guy is abysmal at reading coverage. He's awful. All right, give me a prediction for this one, Lyle. Iowa State is actually favored -3.5. That's to be expected. If you think about this from a gambling perspective, it's really just a pick 'em, because they typically, especially in these college type situations, just give 3 points to the home team. So really it's a pick 'em. But who you got in this one, Lyle? Again, they got Iowa State -3, over under 47.5.
I'm going to go 24-20 Tech.
Ooh, spicy. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I really want to take the under in this game like you did, because first of all, it's going to be cold as hell.
Yes.
It may be wet and cold as hell. That's even worse. And I think really you're going to know who's going to win this football game pretty much in the first quarter, in my opinion. Like, you're going to make adjustments and everything, but it's really who's prepared to play in this cold and who can deal with it, right? Like, it's going to be that quick. Like, whoever
and
gets
I want to say you cannot prepare for it.
No, you can't. I looked at the weather and I was like, I wonder if in Lubbock it's cold this week. It's like, it's cold, but it's not Iowa State cold. Different. Very different.
I ain't going to lie to you, brother. I ain't been out this office just to get here.
It's cold here too. I woke up, it was 37 degrees in downtown, man. It was There's a rude awakening when you walk outside and, there's a building blocking the wind, but as soon as you turn left, right in the face, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Nice to meet you too, Winter.
I can call any teammate. They know I'd be no good in this type of weather. I would make no catches. I'll tell Leach, Mike, you might want to look a different direction today, brother. It's a little cold.
Yeah, you said 24-20. Man, you're right in that neighborhood for me too. I'm going to go a weird score. I'm going to say 22-19 Texas Tech. Just have some fun with it. Scoregami. So at that point, I have Texas Tech covering, but I'm just going to take, for my bets of the week, I'm just going to take Texas Tech money line. So I just have them winning outright. As for my other bets, number 4 TCU goes to Baylor. TCU is only 2-point favorites. Give me the Horned Frogs. I don't see them losing. They're going to the college football playoff. I'm all in. I'm all in, man. By the way, my dark horse team, Kansas State, looking good to go to Arlington too, my guy. Number 15 in the country are the Wildcats. They head out to Morgantown. I've got that one going over the 54.5. I think Kansas State has found themselves a replacement quarterback after Adrian Martinez and Will Howard. That guy is a stud. And also, I think it's going to go over too, because if Neil Brown is smart, he starts Green at quarterback and benches JT Daniels. It's that simple for me. Texas at by the way, Neil Brown's gone. They got a new AD. He's gone. You're done. Out. Enjoy the 2 games you got left, coach. Texas at Kansas. Texas is minus 9.5 favorites here. 9-point favorites. Give me Kansas to cover the 9.
Oh no.
In Lawrence, my guy. Give it to me. And then this one surprised me too. Oklahoma State is 7.5-point underdogs at Oklahoma in Bedlam. It's a rivalry game. You should not be giving them a touchdown. You should not be doing that.
They're playing NOU?
Yeah, Spencer Sanders is going to play though.
That's different. That's
fine. It's Bedlam. Rivalry games. Weird things happen in rivalry games, regardless of where it is. I don't think they should be getting a touchdown. I've got Oklahoma State covering plus 7.5. Lyle, we're not too bad this season. At least I'm not in my betting. I'm at a 56% win percentage. That's not terrible when it comes down to it. But again, you've got Texas Tech winning 24-20. I've got them winning 22-19. That inevitably means they are going to lose by 2 scores. Awesome. Great. Lyle, where can the people follow you on Twitter, my guy?
They can find me at Coach LLEONG. You can find my man RC at
RCMB323. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We just hit 1,000 followers. We're trying to get to 2K before, let's say, the end of basketball season. I think that's a fair way to get there.
I think this too. Let's when we get to 1,500,
okay,
let's do a signed you want to say signed football? Should we go team or Coach McGuire? Let's give out some gear. Or should we get a mini helmet?
I'll let the people decide. How about we put it in the comments? You give me some options, text me some options on what we got, Lyle, and I'll put them down there, and the most liked one is what we'll do for the giveaway when we get to 1,500. How's that sound?
And y'all say who y'all want to get signed.
There we go.
Texas Tech wise, we'll do it.
We'll do it. Hey, there we go. He's Lyle. I'm RC. We appreciate you tuning in to the Back to 12 podcast. As always, stay safe and Recom Tech.